Hello everyone, my name is Pukar Dhital. I'm an English instructor today for Grade 7 and today we are dealing on the subject matter sentence and related clauses. So let's begin the class.
So let's begin our class with sentence. It is very important to know what a sentence is. So what do you think is a sentence? Well, the definition that we usually get is sentence is a group of words put together. So do you really think this is a sentence? So if this is the case, then let's put this in an example. Let's say an apple ram eats. So see, this very example defines the definition. An apple ram eats, because they are the group of words put together. So does this make a sentence? So the answer is no. So why not? Well, the reason is because they do not make a perfect sense. Is this sensible? So every sentence has to be sensible. So let's work out again. So let's try to redefine this example. For instance, the very example, if we try to make it sensible, Ram eats an apple. So you see, this becomes a sentence because here are the group of words put together and they make a perfect sense. Hence, we accept this as a perfect sentence. And do you know that there are 5 different kinds of sentences in English? There are 5 different kinds of sentences. So let's look at these 5 different kinds of sentences quickly. It will help us understand the grammar portion later. And this is very important to know these 5 different kinds of sentences. So the first one would be assertive or declarative sentences. So what do you think is assertive or declarative sentences? So as per the title itself, these are all the sentences which make simple statements, and which declare something. Sentence which declares something is what we call assertive or declarative sentences. These are simple statements which declares something. Right? So we can further clarify this with an example. Let's say, we are going to play cricket. So see, there's a simple statement is made here and it declares something, and that is that a number of people, we are going to play cricket. So they are declaring the fact that they are playing cricket. If we have to look at the other examples, I'm going for a movie. So again here, a simple statement which is declaring that the subject here, I, is going for a movie. So that's why whenever a sentence declares something, this is what we call assertive or declarative sentence. Now, again, we have to move further. The second type of sentence is what we call interrogative sentence. The second sentence is what we call interrogative sentence. So what is interrogative sentence? As the name suggests, do you know what is interrogative? Whenever a sentence asks something, that is what we call interrogative sentence. For instance, are you Mr. Smith? Or who are you? So these are the sentences which always ask questions. And of course, we must not forget that it is always accompanied by that is what we call interrogation. Or whenever a sentence asks questions, that's what we call interrogative sentence. Now, as we move forward, we have the next thing, that's what we call imperative sentence. So what is imperative sentence? Now, there are these kinds of sentences which always express commands, requests, advice, or suggestions. All those sentences which express commands, requests, advice, or suggestions, these 4 things must be understood. Commands, requests, advice, or suggestions. So all the sentences which express commands, requests, advice, or suggestion is what we call imperative sentences. So for example, go and help your mother. Have faith in God. I suggest you to study hard. Could you go and fetch me a water? So you see, all these types of sentences, go and help your mother. So look at these 4 different sentences. Go and help your mother. So we can understand this sentence as a command. Have faith in God. It's an advice. And we have, I suggest you to study hard. We can call it a direct suggestion. I suggest you to study hard. And finally, we have, could you go and fetch me a water? Which again deals with requests. So any sentences which express commands, requests, advice or suggestion is what we call imperative sentences. Now again, moving further, we have exclamatory sentence. Number 4, exclamatory sentence. So just like the name suggests, exclamation. So it expresses a feeling of certain strong emotions. It expresses a feeling of certain strong emotions such as joy, sorrow, surprise, or wonder. So whenever sentences express these human feelings, or certain strong emotions, which we often call it human feelings, such as joy, sorrow, surprise, or wonder, this is what we call exclamatory sentences. And usually it is always accompanied by an exclamation mark. For instance, wow, what a lovely name. Let's deal with one more example. Sadness, let's go for sadness. Alas, we have lost. Alas, we've lost the game. So a few things to consider. Joy, it deals with joy, sorrow, surprise, or wonder. That is what we call human emotions, usually denoted by exclamation mark. Wow, what a lovely name. Alas, we've lost the game. So these kind of sentences is what we call exclamatory sentence. The final one is what we call optative sentence. That's number 5. So what is optative sentence then? Well, when you deal with optative sentence, it's sentences which express a wish, prayer, boon, or a curse. It's the sentences which express a wish, prayer, boon, or a curse. It is likely that sometimes optative sentences are accompanied by exclamation marks. So in that case, we have to understand it by the nature of the sentence. Example, let's start with the blessing. May she be blessed with a good fortune. May she be blessed with a good fortune. Now, this nature of the sentence, rather than showing certain human emotions like joy, sadness, or extreme happiness, it deals with a boon or a good wish. That is, may she be blessed with a good fortune. That's why we consider it an optative sentence. Number B, you shall go to hell with such deeds. Now again, look at the nature of the sentence. This deals with curse. You shall go to hell with such deeds. So every time, whenever sentences express a wish, prayer, boon, or curse, we consider them optative sentence. Now that we know about these 5 different kinds of sentences, there's one more thing which we must know, which is the basic of English grammar, which we call subject and predicate. Now, I have two things to understand. One is what is subject and what is predicate. And this must be noted that every English sentence always has a subject and a predicate in it. And that's why it is very important for us to know what is subject and predicate. So let's begin. I'll clarify these with few examples. Number one, the sun rises in the east. Second, the monkey ate the banana. So here are these two examples. Remember, sentence usually, not always though, usually begins at the very beginning of the sentence. And it usually answers who or what. Here, in this case, what rises in the east. And the next way to understand this is, every time the sentence is always talking about something. It is always highlighting or always talking about a certain thing. Every sentence talks about something. That very thing the sentence talks about is what we call subject. It usually answers who or what. Here, what rises in the east? It's the sun. And the entire sentence is talking about the sun. Look at the second example. The monkey ate the banana. Again, what ate the banana? It's the monkey. And the entire sentence is here talking about the monkey. Hence, monkey is the subject, while ate the banana is the predicate. So here, in this case, in the first sentence, the sun is the subject, because it talks about, the sentence is here talking about the sun, while all those words which define the subject is what we call predicate. Look at the second example. The monkey ate the banana. Here, so what ate the banana? It's the monkey. And the monkey, the entire sentence, the theme of the sentence, the entire sentence is here talking about the monkey. Hence, it is the subject. And ate the banana is the predicate. So apart from the subject and predicate, the basic understanding must be the subject and the predicate. There are more things to it, which I won't go in depth, but it must be understood. Here, the subject is usually and always followed by a verb. So let's figure it out. Here in this case, rises, the action. Here is the verb. And what follows after the verb, and again which defines the action of the subject, is what we call the object. So what rises in the east is the sun. The object is always answering the subject. Again, we go for the second example. The monkey ate the banana. Here, again, the action word here is verb. The monkey ate the banana is the verb, while what follows after the verb is always the object. And here the object is the banana. So what happened to the banana? The monkey ate it. See, the object is answering the subject. So this is how it goes. And now that we have learned about the sentences, in imperative sentence, there's one more thing to be understood. In imperative sentences, let's say for instance, so let's take one more example. Go away. Can you tell me the nature of this sentence? What kind of sentence is this? Is it assertive or declarative? Or is it imperative, interrogative, optative or exclamatory? It's an order, isn't it? Go away. So we take this as an imperative sentence. And however, if we have to identify our subject and object, what is the subject? Is it go or is it away? Here, the subject is you. Is the subject, and this you is hidden, of course, and go away then becomes the predicate. So in imperative sentences, the hidden subject has to be understood. Okay, now we know the sentence, now we know the subject and predicate. Now there's one more term I'd like to introduce, which we define as relative clause. Now that we know the sentences, now we have the understanding on subject and the predicate. So let's go to relative clause. So a relative clause, it's a group of related words containing both a subject and a verb. A group of related words containing both a subject and the verb. Now, let's further clarify this with an example. Now, it's not a sentence in itself, however. Always remember that it's not a sentence in itself. It's not a sentence in itself. But because it has a subject and a verb, it gives a clear meaning. It gives meaning. Remember, in the book, there's no particular chapter like relative clause, but the idea of it will certainly help us do the exercise of chapter 1, which we'll come to it in a while. But first, let's have a few examples here. Examples. The cat that had been sleeping spluttered into fairy life. Spluttered into fairy. And by the way, I will not forget to give this dots at the beginning of the sentence, because this is not the whole sentence. But now, in this example, the cat that had been sleeping spluttered into fairy life. Here, the subject is the cat, and that had been sleeping is what we call the clause. Alright? Now, this that had been sleeping, if you look at it carefully and observe the sentence carefully, it is talking about the cat here. The entire clause here, the cat is the subject, and here's a break, that had been sleeping is, spluttered into fairy life. Alright, so that had been sleeping. So what had been sleeping? It's the cat. Alright, so this is what defines the cat here, and this is what we take it as relative clause. Let's look at the second example. The boy, here's the entire sentence. The boy I was talking to at the bus stop is my cousin. The boy I was talking to at the bus stop is my cousin. Here, I was talking to. Look at this. The boy I was talking to. Now, this particular clause, the boy is the sentence here. So, is the subject here. The boy is the subject here. I was talking to a clause here. Alright? It defines the boy itself. I was talking to. So, he was talking to this particular boy. This defines it. This narrow down the subject here. The boy I was talking to at the bus stop is my cousin. Right? So, this is what we deal with relative clauses here. And apart from this, one more thing to understand is that, see, it starts with relative pronouns. It are the relative clauses are the clauses starting with relative pronouns. For example, so what are these relative pronouns? How do you connect it? Who, that, which, whose, where, and when. One of the examples I like to give here is example. The lady with a golden bag is my teacher. Look at this. Here with a golden bag, this particular clause, it narrows down the subject, which is the lady, and it makes it particular. So we are talking about this lady. The lady with a golden bag is my teacher. Likewise, we can sometimes use that, which, whose, where, and when, depending on the sentence structure. Now that we know about the relative clauses, we move forward to understand one of the exercises from the book. Now, in Unit 1, we have the lesson Places to Visit, and there we have the exercise. But here, though the understanding on relative clause is very important, here what we have is reduced relative clause. Meaning, here we are not using relative pronoun, and which are who, that, which, where, whose, and when. Remember, we can do this without having to use these relative pronoun, alright? And that's why we call it reduced relative pronoun. And this is what we are doing in the book without having to use who, that, which, where, whose, and when. Now, if you look at examples, 2 examples have been done for you. So if you look at the examples given in the book, let's look at example number A. Alright? The man is reading the paper. The man is my brother. Now remember what I've said, we are here not using who, that, which, where, whose and when. So the man reading the paper is my brother. So these two sentences are joined, are combined into one. So this is what we are doing it in this particular exercise. So I'm going to look at number A. You can similarly figure out number B, C, D, E. You can do it on your own, I'm pretty sure. So how about number A, which says, the class is near the office, the class is ours. The class is near the office. And the sentence continues, the class is ours. So what do you think is an answer to this particular question? The class is near the office, the class is ours. The class, so without using these relative pronouns, if we have to combine these two sentences into one, the answer would be the class near the office. Now repetition of the subject here, which is unnecessary. The class near the office is ours. See? So without using anything, any of these words, relative pronouns as we call it, who, that, which, where, whose, and when, we have combined these two sentences into one. The class near the office is ours. So rest of the exercises B, C, D, E follows the same rule, and which I give it to you as a homework. So as a homework, you can work on the numbers B, C, D, and E. But also make sure to provide examples, please. 2 examples. Provide at least 2 examples to each type of sentences. And also write down in 5 sentences and identify subject, predicate, verb, and object. So that much for today. And if you have any queries, you can email us at learning@deerwalk.edu.mp. Thank you very much.